Russia has invaded Crimea, seized it, annexed it. It is conducting a war against Ukraine in the east. Over 10,000 people have died in that war, many, many civilians as a result of indiscriminate Russian bombing and shelling. Sanctions are a way to tell Russia that this is unacceptable behavior. Well, the Minsk agreements were designed to establish a ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia. It was first signed in September of 2014. Between September of 14 and February of 15, the Kremlin and its proxies in eastern Ukraine seized several hundred additional square kilometers of Ukrainian territory. That necessitated a new ceasefire in February of 2015. But since that time, thousands of Ukrainians have died under continuing Russian aggression. In theory, the Minsk agreements lay out a process in which Ukraine can count on Russia to withdraw from its territory, but Russia has not fulfilled one commitment under the Minsk agreements, the most important being to stop the current fighting. Well, Germany in particular, which is leading the charge on sanctions in Europe, says that the sanctions will remain in place until Moscow fulfills all of its commitments under the Minsk agreement. But as I said, to date, we haven't seen Moscow fulfill one of those commitments. So sanctions remain in place, even though in some places in Europe they're unpopular. They need to remove all of their weapons. They need to remove all of their troops. They need to stop financing the fight against Ukraine. They need to permit Ukrainian forces to regain all the territory and to control the border separating Ukraine from Russia. Well, certainly in response to the sanctions, Moscow has produced its own sanctions against certain products, agricultural products from the south of Europe. My understanding, though, is that those European producers have been able to find other markets. Well, I think there have been a little bit of a hit, but that hit is actually quite small, especially compared to the death and destruction that Russia is wreaking on Ukraine. And the danger is that if Europe and the West do not stand strongly against Russian aggression in Ukraine, Russia may choose to repeat that aggression elsewhere.